Right now, attorneys for the state of Texas and the Biden administration are squaring off in a federal appeals court over a law known as Senate Bill 4, SB 4. The law allows state and local law enforcement to arrest anyone suspected of entering Texas illegally and allows judges to then order them to return to Mexico. Texas Governor Greg Abbott argues that this will help address the situation by using state resources. However, on the flip side, the Biden administration challenged the legality of the law, saying immigration enforcement is explicitly under federal jurisdiction, according to the Constitution. So there's this legal battle that is ongoing, has been for months. Right now, the block is in place, and that's where the process stands at this hour. Goliad County, Texas Sheriff Roy Boyd is with us. You're on the front lines of this. The constitutionality of SB 4 is what is being discussed in court. Do you believe it's unconstitutional?
No, ma'am, I don't. And I'll ask, when's the last time you ever saw the federal government fighting in court to prevent the enforcement of the rule of law? The federal government is trying not to enforce federal law and is then going after the state, saying that we don't want you to enforce your state law because we don't want any laws enforced with regards to border security. I think we're at a unique situation here in the history of the United States of America, where our own government is fighting against the rule of law, even their own law.
Right. We've got a legal tug of war going on. In the meantime, in the interim, what's happening at the border? Do state authorities have the authority to make arrests, and what are they doing?
Well, the Texas legislature gives us laws every 2 years. And so we already have plenty of laws on the books that are afforded to us to enforce. And so I know in our county of Goliad, we've already been enforcing various laws that are on the books for the state side. And so the fact that the Senate Bill 4 is going through the courts right now has not been a hindrance to us enforcing the law and dealing with the transnational criminal organizations that are conducting smuggling operations.
How do you interpret the pushback and the motivation from the federal government on this?
The federal government wants open borders, and that's all it really boils down to. They're on the sides of the cartels. They're on the sides of organized crime. They're not on the side of the citizens of the United States of America. And what they're doing is violating the constitutional rights of the property owners throughout South Texas and endangering their families by causing this wave of criminality to come through into the state of Texas and into other border states and then spread out across the United States.
Well, the Democrats in the White House, I'll just jump in here real quick, will argue that that is not true. They do not want an open border, and they'll point the finger at Republicans who did not get legislation passed on immigration.
We don't need new laws on the federal side. If they would just enforce the laws that already exist, we wouldn't have this problem. The problem is the fact that the administration is preventing federal law enforcement from enforcing the laws that have been on the books for decades. This is all by design, and they're the ones who've made it happen.
Let me ask you about this, Sheriff. I spoke with a sheriff yesterday who is dealing with social media threats and the cartels seemingly acting with impunity on the border. Is that a threat and a concern that you and your colleagues are also facing?
Yeah, I think everybody that's down here that deals with it faces that. I mean, I've had the Department of Homeland Security tell me that cartel members in Mexico have passed my picture around. And so I think there's a lot of that that's happening throughout Texas.
And how are you altering your tactics to respond to something like that? That's an added challenge.
We're just going to keep pushing forward. We're going to enforce the rule of law. The legislature gives us the laws at the will of the people, and we're going to continue to push forward because we're not going to be bullied by anybody. As a sheriff, it is my sworn duty to uphold the Constitution, uphold the laws of the state of Texas, and I'm going to continue to do that. And I don't care what anybody says.
Are you optimistic that we'll see real change before November's election?
No, ma'am. I think the state is doing everything they can. Governor Abbott's doing everything he can. But I believe on the flip side, the federal government is doing everything they can to counter it and continue to have this massive wave of criminality coming into our communities.
Yeah, it's an incredibly frustrating situation with no end in sight. The Texas National Guard also on the border. How has that helped or impacted the ongoing situation?
I think it's helped the state from the logistical standpoint considerably. The ability to use the National Guard in logistics and putting out the concertina wire and the different things that the governor has ordered to be placed along the border as a deterrent. I think has gone a long way, especially in those hot spots, to deter the cartels from using those areas as a place of mass migration.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.